Hello, everybody. Hi out there. This is StarCast, a Star Citizen podcast where we're just going to throw around wild, random speculation. And tonight I am joined with two new people to the StarCast cast, which is Core and Trendane. So, Mr. Core, would you please fill the audience in on what you're all about?
Well, I'm Core. I have my own Twitch channel, and I've been streaming for a little bit, and I've been trying to get some traction going, and I think I do have a very, very stable base there. Unfortunately, I have not been keeping up to date with Star Citizen as much as I should have. However, over the last 3 weeks, all I've done is read up about it, so hopefully I'll have something interesting to talk about. Other than that, I really don't have that much to say.
Most of us are the same way. All right, Mr. Trendane, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I suppose I can do that. Well, obviously, Trendane. Just kind of starting out. Well, up until recently, I worked at Electronic Arts. I am fortunately now free of those shackles, and starting to push my voice acting career as much as I can. And part of that also is getting involved in video games. In a much deeper way than I used to, because I hated video games, really. It was very rare to find a game that really intrigued me. There were two genres that always really got me. That was RPGs and space stuff. Mm-hmm. So Star Citizen was something that as soon as I kind of listened to Mr. Roberts and all of his descriptions about it, I was like, okay, this sounds like something that I could get behind. So here I am.
There we go. Awesome. All right, so a little bit about the show. For those who might be viewing this for the first time, this is how the show works. First off, we have a brand new feature. This is for people who are watching this on YouTube later on. If you're not watching this live, check this out. This bar over here on the left side of the screen. How this bar is going to work is I'll put annotations up. No, the other way. That way. Yeah. I'm going to put annotations up, and you will be able to skip to the interesting parts where Trendane does his impersonation of Han Solo, and
I'm Chewbacca.
Chewbacca. All right. And whatever. So we'll be able to, and also the numbers 1 through 5. Each one of the topics that we'll be covering tonight will be, you can just click, one topic is super boring, you hate it, you can click that. If you try to click it right now, I'm going to take away 500 internet points from you. Because this is live, and we can't skip it just because you clicked it. So, yeah.
We can, we just won't.
We won't. We just will refuse to acknowledge your click. Also, for the way the show works is we are live with you here watching as Trendane pops open a beautiful frosty beverage. All you have to do is leave in the comments, you type in question and you put it in brackets, and we have a moderator or two in the audience who will go through the questions and gather them all up for us, and we'll do a Q&A at the end of the show where we will throw around some more wild speculation. So, there we are. Okay. So I guess we can go ahead and get started about the interesting and amazing stuff that's coming up this week. Let's see. Our first topic is $21 million reached, plus a letter from Chris Roberts. So yeah, they hit the $20 million stretch goal, and
21.
21, and we're headed on up to 22. So, what do you guys think about the goal and the letter?
Core, you go ahead and take that. You've been reading more about it than I have.
The goal in the letter. What exactly are you referring to right now? Because are you referring to the 22 million goal?
Yeah.
Right. The 22 million goal, unfortunately, I've expressed my vocal concerns about about the facial capture feature from Infinite Realities. Even though it is a brilliant feature, I don't believe too many people will actually be able to take advantage from it, since they'll only be using this at certain conventions. So that'll limit the usage of it to only a very small populace, and I don't really feel that it's that big of a stretch goal for from a personal consumer standpoint. However, when it comes down to putting infinite reality faces onto actual NPCs and make it seem like a lot more realistic, that would actually be really cool.
That's one thing is because they're going to be able to do this, even if they're scanning in random people at conventions, it means that there's a possibility they will be able to have 5,000-6,000 different character heads that you could pick for one of your characters, and you might find somebody who looks a little bit similar to you, has a great beard or whatever, and then you can use them as your avatar for your character, or not just your avatar, but your actual character's head. Yeah, I do see what you're saying about it not being as widely available for all of the population, but I think you'll be able to dig through it. Like, what is it? Arma. The Arma game, there's hundreds of different heads you can use for that. What do you think there, Mr. Trendane?
Well, bringing up the thing that the general populace not being able to, but not having the financial wherewithal to take part in something like that, those that want to do it to get their face into the game, like it's a perfect opportunity for like a model to try to say, this is a new avenue for me to try to get my face into, and that could work. But what would worry me in that case is the legal precedent, because models make their money on their being paid for their faces to appear in different media and whatnot, and so the contracts that would have to be signed at the con that have to be very, very careful in their wording of that and how things got to play. Because even if somebody didn't want to play the game, but they just wanted to get their face into the game, so they can say, "Look, I'm right there." That's a little scary from a legal interpretation standpoint.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. That could cause a lot of iffy scenarios, especially if it's somebody who goes into it thinking, "Oh yeah, go ahead, scan my head, throw it in there," and then that person becomes a prostitute on some planet somewhere, and it's totally representing what they really wanted that character to be like. Then that can cause all sorts of legal problems too. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, very strange. So, what's the $22 million stretch goal?
You mean the 21 million?
No, the next one. The next one for 22.
Okay.
The 22 million is something a lot of people are getting really excited about. Do you want to take that one, Trendane?
Which one is it?
The Xeon Scout Ship.
Oh, we're going to talk about that, yeah, in detail later on. That's actually one of our topics. But yeah, so go ahead.
Well, if we're going to talk about it in detail later, I can hold off on that and focus on the other part of the letter, which was the salvaging
yes.
thing.
Yeah, that's our next topic. We'll go ahead and just fire that up then.
Okay. So does this mean that the thing will now move down to the one?
No. It just stays there static. But they can click it later on.
Click it.
Oh.
Click later.
Yeah, they're all pointing the wrong way. It's this way.
Well, I can't tell. I haven't got my thing mirrored. Anyway, so the new it's not a class. It's
profession.
Profession. Thank you. Has been unlocked now. Correct. It is actively unlocked.
Yep.
And going to be incorporated as being a salvager, which, if you for me, it's kind of like the beginning of the TV series Firefly, where they're salvaging. Well, it's kind of salvaging, the goods off that derelict ship. And I mean, for me as an explorer and that kind of, that's really, really interesting. And one of the things that came to mind, and I should have turned on my my iPad because I have all my notes written here for this thing, is, if you're traveling out into completely unknown territory, let's say there's like a pirate ship that's about to be boarded. They put booby traps everywhere inside this ship, little molecular fuses that you can't see. It's like you step on this and it gets stuck to the bottom of your shoe. I think Captain Picard did this once, and he steps on the next thing and it combines these two elements and explodes. Or maybe there's pathogens within the ship that you don't know about. I mean, there's all kinds of risk that goes with the reward of the potential finds with a salvage kind of thing. But it also goes along with exploration. And one of the other things that it mentioned in the letter was the possibility that you might be the first, you might make first contact with a completely as yet undiscovered alien race, and that is very, very cool to me.
That's pretty epic. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to be an explorer too. What do you think there, Mr. Core?
Well, I would certainly like to do my fair share of exploring, especially since the salvaging mechanic makes it seem so interesting. Now it seems like all these little asteroid and space rocks that you see floating around the galaxy actually serve a purpose. You go there, you have the ability to go inside it to see what's there, and I think that that's going to add a whole new level of immersion that previously, as a combat person myself, had not considered. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, and just going off on my own salvage mission just by myself.
Have they ever talked about any kind of multi-classing? Like, could you be a pirate salvager?
Assuming that they've not really discussed classes in depth. I mean, you can be whatever you want to be, can't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to the way that you set up your ship, to the way that you outfit yourself, or the kind of job that you would like to do yourselves. You could have, for instance, your own freighter ship for when you don't have a lot of time and just want to pull some freight around and make some easy money. Mm-hmm. And other times you jump in your fastest ship and you fly out into the middle of nowhere and explore an asteroid.
Yeah, I can see that. I was just thinking more like, say you are a pirate and you go out and you take out this one ship, then you could jump on that ship and try to rip off, scuttle it, like you do in the Navy. That same kind of thing pirates would do. Take the ship over.
I would expect that's kind of part of the job. I mean, if you're a pirate, it implies that you would be plundering people's booty. If you don't, I mean, if you just blow something up, like, okay, I'm done, and you just take off, you're leaving behind a lot of stuff.
I think that having the right equipment for the job is what it comes down to, not so much having the skill or expertise probably to a sense, but having the right equipment is what's going to make the difference. It's the same mechanic that they discussed with mining. You can shoot your lasers at an asteroid and hope to get some tiny scraps of precious metals from it, or you can actually use a precision mining laser and get large chunks. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing the salvaging mechanic is going to be somewhat the same. If you bring the right tools for the job, you're gonna walk away with a lot more reward than you bring a blaster and just start shooting off door locks.
That was the thing they mentioned about in the Wingman's Hangar episode. Somebody asked a question, could I blow up an asteroid and then gather all the little pieces? And they were saying, well, why would you want to do that? That's sort of like, blowing up a house with dynamite and then going back in and trying to pick up the pieces afterwards. You probably want to just walk in the house and take the stuff you need, which is how the precision laser will sort of be able to pick out, like, oh, there's a chunk of gold on that huge asteroid. I just want that chunk, and it can pull that chunk off. Is what I'm thinking.
There's a line from Raiders of the Lost Ark that I think covers that very, very well, and that's where Belloc was telling the Nazi guys, you would use a bulldozer to find a china cup. Mm-hmm. And same sort of thing.
I just watched that movie the other week. That's pretty weird. I always watch it, though. It's pretty good. Yeah, you're in my brain, Trendane. Stop it.
Or in your house. I mean, no, brain.
That's who was here last night, stalking me.
Well,
Yeah. All right, so that sounds good. Really looking forward to hearing more about it, and then also finding out whether or not we can do multitasking or multi-classing. So, all right, let's move on to our next topic. The ship. The new ship. I'm going to mispronounce this, but you all know me long enough. I'm going to mispronounce it anyway. The Xi'an Scout, or Xi'an Scout. Okay, I will just shut up now and let you two talk about it, because... All right. The new scout ship, which has been released in the letter they talked about, that's coming up for the next stretch goal, right?
Yes, the Xi'an ship will be the most maneuverable ship there is from what it's been discussed. It'll probably be around the same size as or the same classification as the Aurora or the 300i. Mm-hmm. It will not feature main thrusters, which is the main difference between this ship and every other ship. Instead, it'll have an articulated rig system that controls the thrusters in such a way that you have a lot more maneuverability. So we're assuming that the thrusters themselves have a lot more kick to them than your average Tier 1 or Tier 2 thrusters that the Aurora has. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it'll probably not be able to outrun a ship like that. It will probably be able to outmaneuver it, fly circles around it, but from my point of view, I'm guessing that an Aurora could still run away from it and then take it out at range. But again, that's speculation. It's going to look like a vertical ship, similar to what you're used to seeing from. I believe it's not a Y-wing. It's what's the
B-wing.
B-wing. There you go.
Yeah. I got a picture of it right now on the screen for those watching.
Yeah, in there you'll see what we believe is the Xi'an scout ship. It'll have a little egg pod in the center and those two things sticking out at the bottom and the top.
Yeah, they said they're going to have gimbaled, articulating gimbaled thrusters on this, unlike the other ones, which are more static thrusters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little bit very, very maneuverable, but as you're saying, not as fast. What I can liken it to is like a Harrier jump jet. You know, the Harrier can do vertical takeoffs because it takes its thrusters and it points them at the ground and then it lifts up that way. I'm thinking this is similar to that. It's very maneuverable, can get in and out of places a lot easier than other ships can, but not nearly as fast in a straight line as, say, an F-18.
It feels to me like it would be the perfect ship to put on a carrier, to fly the carrier into the combat zone and have all these Xeon scout ships just swarm out. I mean, that seems like a lot better than starting on two different sides of the battlefield and having these Xeon very slowly move towards the enemy, and the enemy just picking them off at range. But again, that's all speculation, of course.
All of this is speculation because, you know, we're so far out from the game being released. That's all we have really to go on. So we just chat about this kind of stuff. You know, we come up with crazy, wild things, and maybe they come true.
Which makes us oracles.
Yes, we are oracles. We are the dreamers of dreams. What do you think, Trendane?
Well, with regard to the design of the ship, when I first read the description of it being the vertical design rather than the horizontal design that humans would normally use, we're used to having kind of a flat craft so that the whole thing acts like an airfoil, and then you've got the wings extended on as well. Mm-hmm. But in space, you don't have that thing. Now, the description of it indicated that it could vector all of the thrusters in one given direction, which to me I interpreted as, instead of flying this way, that it flies this way. Because you don't have to worry about atmospheric flight. There's no drag on the fuselage. Yeah. So you could point all four. Yeah, exactly. And you could point all four thrusters in one direction and shoot that direction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which made me think of, what would the tactics be like of flying against one of those ships? You know, would you try to take it into an atmosphere so that they have that atmospheric resistance to reduce their maneuverability, or would you take them into a nebula if they weren't going to follow you into the atmosphere of a planet, something that's going to make them have to push or fly sideways to cut down on the drag? Mm-hmm. It just was the first tactical thoughts. For somebody who doesn't like combat, I still have to think that way sometimes. So it was just kind of some of the stuff that sort of came to mind, which then brings, what do the carriers look like? Because their launch bays have to be vertical instead of horizontal, like on the
Battlestar Galactica.
No, the ones we see in
the Bengal. Yeah.
Thank you, the Bengal.
Again, no clue. They might be able to fit into the Bengal Harrier straight up, like vertical, but we don't know yet.
But if they can fly any direction, couldn't they just turn horizontal and land on the deck? Like, you'd be sitting in the cockpit sideways, but maybe the cockpit's on a gimbal too, and it can rotate.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. I was talking to someone about that earlier, and I mentioned that because the entire ship is situated around that egg, the egg kind of gives away the impression that you might be able to move the parts that are on the top and on the bottom, just move them around the egg to indicate which way it's going to go. Yeah, and that might give that extra bit of maneuverability there as well. And Trendane just said, if it's going to fly sideways, it'll just create itself a bigger target for long range weaponry as well. Yep. Which kind of factors into the whole, we don't have a lot of protection and we don't have a lot of heavy armor, but we can outmaneuver you. Because that's literally what the ship is trying to tell you. Right,
you can literally fly circles around you while you're trying to shoot at it. It's like all the way underneath you now, and it's shooting at your belly. And then by the time you get turned around, it's shooting at your top. There's definitely some advantages about being completely maneuverable in space like that, especially space combat. All right, that's a good one. All right, just real quick, another reminder. Please write questions that you have that you'd like to talk about in Q&A at the end. Just write them in brackets, just write question, and we will get to them as we get to them. at the end.
And thank you, Mr. Pasta, for the clarification on the pronunciation of Xi'an.
Xi'an. There you go. I told you guys I was going to butcher it.
I was going to pronounce it, but I don't expect you guys to do that.
Yeah.
We'll go with Xi'an.
All right. Next one up. Okay, so this is a big one. Coming up in 2 days, we are going to be on 1010, and we're going to have a live stream. Now, Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games is going to be doing a live stream show talking about a bunch of new stuff that's coming up. We're going to speculate on what it might be tonight. But after that show, we're going to have another live stream of our show, which will be like a post-cast. And we'll talk about what they said, what might be new, things that they talked about this week. So really excited about that. So yeah, what do you guys think that's going to be released, or what they're going to talk about at this upcoming event in 2 days?
Go ahead, Trendane.
Oh, damn it. Okay. I know it's still early, but I think they're going to need to get to a point where they can show. We've seen people walking around in hangars. We've seen ships sitting there. We've seen people sitting in the cockpits and stuff. We're going to need to see in-game examples of the what was it? The expanded realities.
Mm-hmm. Infinite realities. Yep.
Thank you. Infinite realities. We're going to need to see what that looks like in the engine, which they should be able to do, not on a wide scale, but at least on one person. Then, if they have any levels of gameplay, actual gameplay, even if it's not playable by the public, just something to demonstrate this is what it looks like. I mean, I know that I've mentioned, bank turns in space make no sense because there's no atmosphere to push against for a bank turn.
They did say, though, that they were going to have, as a matter of fact, I'll show some combat right now. They were going to try to mimic the
Battlestar Galactica?
Well, not just Battlestar Galactica, but the atmospheric effects. Like what Trendane's saying is, in space, there is no reason that you need to bank. Like, you literally could just turn your ship on an axis because you're...
Babylon 5 is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Great show. So, yes. So I'm showing some of that combat right now, which you're seeing the thrusters firing in different directions, and you're turning literally on a dime. Like, there's no reason you can't be rotating your axis almost a completely 180 degrees without ever taking any kind of drag. But there is G-forces involved. Like, G's still work in space. Even though you're weightless, you still have the momentum and the inertia. And there's actually been quite a few really good posts on the forums talking that these people are theory crafting like crazy, but talking about the different weights of the ships, the different types of engines that they have, the different types of thrusters they have, and how maneuverable they're going to be compared to each other. Like the Hornet, which is on the screen now, compared to a Freelancer. How is it going to be able to turn? Who will be able to outrun the other one? That kind of stuff.
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay because mentioning the reaction control thrusters and using those to rotate the ship faster, as you said, yes, that'll reorient the ship, and then you have to overcome inertia and its effects on the pilot, which is probably why if you're going to be piloting any kind of a combat ship, you will almost certainly have to have, a flight suit that is going to kind of do the leg squeezy thing to push all the blood back up into your brain.
Because that's still there.
It's still there.
Gravity or not, yeah.
And then, if you're going to try to do extreme maneuvers about that, you have to overcome inertia in the way that you can turn around, but you have to overcome inertia to get going back the other direction again, which could be used to simulate a bank turn if you're firing RC thrusters while you're pushing forward, but you're nosing up at the same time. It will kind of simulate a bank turn. Right. But the harder they push into hard science with the game, the more the theory crafting of the public becomes very, very, very solid. And okay, if they're going to do it, they have to follow these rules, or they better have a damn good reason why they're not.
Right. Is the physics in space in this game different than the physics in real world? Because physics are the same across the board. And that's why the quantum physicists are trying to figure out that level, because if they can figure out quantum physics here in our own world, it has to be the same across the galaxy, and they could be able to do things like warping and all that. But that's a topic for another time. Yeah. So what do you think there, Mr. Core?
Well, everything that I was thinking was said.
Okay.
So I'll.
Sorry.
No, that's completely fine. We all agree on the same principles here. So, I mean, I think that's a good thing. I mean, we don't always have to have different ideas because if we're all thinking the same thing, then Chris Roberts must be too, right?
Yeah.
To an extent.
To an extent.
It's very difficult to innovate if we are all doing the same thing all the time.
What do you think?
No, that's very true.
What do you think about the any other big announcements you think they'll have? You think they're going to talk about a new ship or maybe have a sale?
Now, the fact that they'll have a sale is almost guaranteed because they've already made a comment about them leaving the ship sales open until October 14th. Which ships these will be, unfortunately, we do not know. The speculation currently lies, or is leaning towards the Hornet variants, or yes, the Hornet variants, the Starfarer variants, or bringing back some old LTI ships such as the Retaliator or the Gladiator into these sales.
So that's definitely something we can look forward to then too for that date.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Now, do you think that the severe theory crafting on this
go
one?
for it.
Do you think that they would have? Do you think they would have any discounts for people who are at the event, for discounts on these sales, as opposed to people who aren't actually there?
That's a good question. I think that they could pull it off. What I'd like to see, maybe something like they do with BlizzCon. I know this isn't as nearly as big as BlizzCon, but when you show up to BlizzCon, you get a mount, and then if you watch it online, you can get a free little Murloc pet. Every year they have a different Murloc pet. So maybe they could do something like that for people that were online. You know, they can say, "Hey, everybody, here's this code. It's going to work for another hour," and you put it in on your thing, and Bob's your uncle. So yeah, we can. We will see. We will see. All right. So let's get into some Q&A then. We got a couple of questions I saw come by. Oops, turn off the overlay. Q&A time. Q&A time. All right. We have a question from Zeltesh. Zeltesh. Hello, Zeltesh. He's one of a really great group of fans that are with me all the time. So thanks a lot for coming and writing in some questions. He asked, what joystick would best suit this game, any? And what OS would you need for best calibration? I'm going to go with any kind of HOTAS system. What do you think?
A HOTAS system would be very nice. Unfortunately, I'm a gamer like through and through, and keyboard and mouse is where I come from. However, I've been looking very heavily into HOTAS systems, and I'm leaning towards the X65 because the actual joystick doesn't move, and that seems like
it's so it's just so I'm gonna snap that thing right off, like it just because it doesn't move. The one he's talking about is made by Cytec, and it's really heavy duty, and you just basically the more friction or more pressure you put on any one side of the joystick, it registers that, and then if you want to turn really hard, you just push harder. But I think I'll just snap the damn thing off when I'm trying to make a hard bank turn or something. This is the one I've got. This is the X52 HOTAS system. It's out of focus. There we go. Got this on eBay. I think it was $100. It wasn't very much. But it rotates on an axis and all the joysticks and buttons and stuff, and then it comes with a throttle.
I think my joystick that I have, which is somewhere out in the garage, I believe it might be from the Paleolithic era. I'm not sure.
It is okay. If you had like one of the old CH products, like one of the old analog deals, they even make an an adapter to be able to put it into the USB, because those old CH ones are amazingly well built.
Yeah, I think mine plugs into the parallel port, so that'll tell you how old that thing is.
That's what I mean. Yeah, Eric Pasta just said game port to USB. Exactly. So you can the CH flight stick. Oh yeah, CH fighter stick is cheap. The only thing about the CH products, in my opinion, is old. because they just haven't changed them at all. All they did is made them from game port to USB. That's like all they've done. It's exactly the same buttons. It's that same kind of plastic, but they last forever, and they're super well built.
Just like an Edsel.
Yeah.
No.
Nick Chronic says, I will use my Xbox controllers for this game. That's actually right. Chris Roberts they have shown scenes of Chris Roberts flying his ship around with with an Xbox controller. So it'll work.
Speaking of controls, this is slightly off topic, but
It's all right. Go for it.
the concept of roll and pitch and everything else kind of brings it to mind. And I think, were we going to touch on ship AI at all, or are we saving that for another time?
I guess we skipped over it because we were talking about this earlier, folks. We were saying we were going to talk about it, and then I think we moved the other thing in instead. But we can talk about it now.
We can talk about it now.
It's a question you have, so ask your question, and we'll...
It's kind of a question I have.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things that I've often wondered is from all the space shows that I've watched and everything, it is entirely possible that when you encounter another ship, you're cruising along like this, and the other ship is going like this. Mm-hmm. So at what point do you guys agree that your ships should orient towards each other this way? If you're functioning in three-dimensional space, mm-hmm. and is the AI going to determine, okay, that is the front of the ship, I should orient towards it this way in this position?
Right.
Now, with the controllers, and joysticks and stuff, because I watched you, Domo, doing the thing where you kept, God, I wish I had my joystick, because you were trying to do a roll and you couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm headed with that, which doesn't quite have a question in it, but.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this Halo Avenger.
Feel free to move on.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying. I was listening to what you're saying, but this guy Halo Avenger just posted this really weird random thing. I'm not going to read it because this doesn't warrant reading, but it's strange.
Is it printed in Xi'an?
It is in Xi'an, and it's upside down Xi'an, so I don't really have a chance to stand on my head.
Not right now.
Not right now. It won't work. Anyway, so yes, the ship AI, which we were talking about. People were curious why my camera is going fuzzy. People were curious to say, will we have AI that we can purchase or rent that will come with us on these adventures? And can we assign them? Can we train them up? Can we say this guy is a really amazing pilot, so I'm going to have him in the pilot seat and I'm going to go sit in the gun, or vice versa? Like, he's a great gunner and you just keep training him up for guns, and he's like somebody you purchase or rent, like a mercenary.
Oh, we're talking about actual people. I thought we were talking about the ship's computer AI.
No, I'm talking about
okay.
NPCs that you can get to go, because some of these ships, like the Constellation, you need a crew. Like, you can't do the whole ship yourself.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion, and that's the fact that Trendane was talking about an actual ship AI that helps you in navigation and targeting. Whereas a lot of the questions that are actually out there are about the NPC crewmen, the character slots, and the crewmen that you can hire. Now, there is a lot of speculation on whether or not you'll be able to train these guys, and whether or not they'll take time, or how much money it'll cost, etc., or if it'll even be there, or if they'll just all be the same base level, so that the actual pilot skill still factors in. One of the interesting about the NPC crewmen is that, from what I've read, is that you can only have 4 at any given time when using them as wingmen, and wingmen, of course, being single-seater craft. However,
so they could take one of your, real quick, they could take, if you had like a freelancer, they could take your Hornet out and be like a scout with you?
Yes, exactly.
That's cool. But go ahead, continue. Sorry, I just want to clarify.
No, that's fine. However, and anyone can correct me here, they have not made any mention of how many NPCs you can actually have crewing one ship at a time. So, for instance, could you crew an Idris with with an entire company of NPCs?
You're going to need a big company, because that's even a bigger ship than a Constellation.
Yes.
That's the other thing, and I've heard, this is sort of a speculation too, that in the future, well, all this is in the future, but farther on, maybe like a year or two after release or whatever, what's going to happen is you'll be able to go from, you log in, and your friend's halfway across the other side of space, and you want to go play with him. that you can log into one of his NPCs and take that NPC over and then be his gunner and hang out with him and chat with him and stuff like that. And then when you're ready to leave, you leave, and then the NPC sort of, you unjack from it basically, and then you move over to your ship, and then that guy has his helmsman back or whatever.
Yeah, Matrix style hot seating I think is going to be really interesting, because you could literally fly your own fleet. Up to a certain point, of course, within reason, and have all NPCs in it, but have, your entire clan on standby, so that if you do get attacked, instantly all those NPCs become players, and your skill level gets boosted incredibly to the level where the enemy probably thought they were fighting a couple of NPCs and one player, to the point where they're now having to deal with turrets that actually hit things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Eric Pasta just says, great for managing persistent capital ships. That's going to be a problem. I mean, you have a target as big as a Bengal carrier and you own it, you better watch your back constantly. I mean, there's a big threat there that you're going to get that thing taken away from you.
You'll probably have to patrol it around, unknown areas of space or fringe space, so that no one ever gets a fixed read on it.
That's another problem, though. Okay, so they're only going to have a finite number of these capital ships. And if say, let's just make up a number. There's 100 of them in the whole game. And all 100 of these people are paranoid, and they take these things out to the farthest reaches of the galaxy where almost nobody ever goes, just so they can keep them safe, because you're not going to be able to park one of these things in your hangar. Like, are the ships just basically gone? You'll never see a Bengal character ever when you play?
I don't think you'll see them as prominently. Luckily, when they get destroyed, they come back. But I don't think we'll prominently see Bengal carriers in ship warfare a lot of the time, unless it's a very high priority situation. But again, we don't know enough about the game to speculate what will be a high priority situation. Maybe the only high priority situation in the game will be either attacking a space station or attacking another Bengal carrier.
Yeah, it's a couple people were saying in the chat that you'd probably end up keeping the ship close to the main capital in UEE space, so that at least the police could get to you in time. But if somebody hits you hard enough and fast enough, they're going to still be able to take it away from you.
I'm not sure if I'd be comfortable keeping my capital ship near Terra. I think too many people would see that as a nice, big, fat, juicy target.
Yeah, no matter what, yeah.
Because, hey, who doesn't want to say, hey, I took on a Bengal carrier. I lost, but I took on a Bengal carrier.
I have no interest. So I'm the only person who would say that. It does bring to mind that, I mean, how many people, and I'm somewhat loath to say this, but I mean, there's a bit of shame to it. How many people do you think are going to get one of these things, not so they can play the game with it, but just so they can say that they have one, that it becomes bragging rights and not a ship they're ever going to use?
I could probably see myself doing something like that, parking on the dark side of a moon somewhere and just like, yeah, I got it, baby. Check out my Bengal.
Well, how can they check it out if you never bring it in?
I had pictures. I'll have me standing on the bridge going with my scanned-in face on the
Photoshop, dude. Holographic Photoshop.
It could happen.
We could hold a parade.
So speaking of high priority targets and stuff, so let's say, for example, you've got 100 of these Bengals that are out there that nobody's ever using because they won't want to risk losing them.
Yeah.
Now, what if RSI or Cloud Imperium, that they basically say, we need to get these ships into the mix. Mm-hmm. And so they basically put out a call to say, we are having problems with the Van Duel. We need every available ship to get the hell over here and drive back this incursion into our space. Mm-hmm. Any pilots who do not respond will be blacklisted from Terran, from
then it becomes a pirate Bengal carrier.
Basically. That forces them to either use it or they lose their rights to bring that ship, only that ship, into, controlled space.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds really interesting. And before I go deeper into that, I was just reminded, the ships we will probably see a lot more prominently will be the battle cruisers and the destroyers, because they also cannot dock.
Right.
So these ships will probably be, in more excess than the carriers, because the carriers are huge, whereas destroyers and battle cruisers will probably be a lot smaller, but carry a lot more firepower, nonetheless. And I I really like the idea of an actual AI threat, such as the Vandul or the Banu actually coming in, and preferably a little bit early on, so that we get a real sense of duty in the beginning at least. And then you at least still have the feeling that we at least banded together to fight a threat at least once, because you know how players are and you know how the player base is going to be. Eventually, larger clans will start hoarding things and take their anger out on each other.
Yep. Sounds good. All right, we have some more questions. Let's go ahead and skip on into them. Another one here from... How will NPC crewmen know hostiles from friendlies in combat? This is from Warpman Imp.
I don't know. I don't have enough information on how the NPC crewmen work to know exactly how it'll function. But I'm guessing it'll be like a modern day combat RFID system where, if they're in your clan, or if they're not currently attacking you, or you have them on your friend list, or some modifier like that, will give you the will give you the opportunity to either tell your NPCs, or your NPCs already are coded to know whether or not they're friendly or not.
Yeah, I'm thinking just even like a tag system like you have in World of Warcraft. Somebody starts attacking you, then they become red, then the NPCs are able to shoot at them.
Yes, yeah.
What do you think there, Trendane? Anything different you want to say?
The first thing that came to mind was intentional imperfections, specifically coded into the NPCs, so that maybe they've part of their backstory, their generated backstories, that they were involved in some big war. So maybe they get a little bit nervous around combat situations, and you're like, okay, these guys, they're not enemies, but they're not quite friends, so we're in negotiations. Everybody chill, everything's fine. Something happens, this guy panics a bit and squeezes off a shot, but then you've got combat being initiated by an NPC, and that could be...
That is tricky. A little bit of a pucker factor thing going on there.
A bit, yeah. But then you would also, presumably that could be part of the NPC interaction. You're wandering around the ship when you're in the hangar or whatever, and you're talking to your NPCs, your crew members, and you find out that one of them is a little bit, edgy around these particular types of situations, and maybe you send them to counseling or whatever, just...
That's what the airlock is for.
Yes.
You've seen it in plenty of sci-fi.
We will be speaking to Dr. Vacuum today.
All right. Let's see. Next question. What do you think of the people buying multiple sticks for controlling all 6 freedoms of motion, considering they will fly by wire? That may invalidate that approach. This is from Boil Down.
Right.
Do you know of anybody using multiple sticks?
No, I do not. But I think that
like 4 joysticks or something.
No, he's talking about 2.
Oh. Well, mine has a throttle and the joystick for moving, but you just talk about two to control two different axes.
I think he's talking about using one as a thruster control and the other as an actual ship. Well, no, never mind. They both do the same thing, except probably one controls different thrusters from the other, and allowing it to... The calibration would have to be perfect, but still, it's possible to do.
Until I had heard about multi-boxing, I didn't think it was possible. But then it became kind of a norm in World of Warcraft. People
Maybe he can...
multiple characters at the same time.
Trendane, do you know anything about this topic?
No, but I think it would probably be far less expensive and possibly a little bit more, because the impression I got was an array of 6 joysticks and like having a finger on each one trying to... You're not a freaking octopus, if you are that skilled, go play Guitar Hero and kick ass. Yeah. But what I got was, my first thought was to use, instead of joysticks in a case like that, was to use a leap motion controller, so that you can literally have your hands be your ship and you can move it in all 6 axes at the same time.
Oh, he clarified here real quick. He said some people think that they can control all 6 directions of motions by using 2 sticks. I say because of its fly-by-wire. Yeah.
Yeah.
You basically, when you're using your joystick in this game, you're moving to the left. You don't have to think about the 6 axis that you're going to be controlling. You just move the controller to the left, you lower your speed down or whatever, or you rotate your rudder, and the ship's computers are going to do all of those thruster vectors. Matter of fact, in this SC Combat video, which we watched a ton of times tonight, watch the thrusters fire. You can see them when he starts doing some heavy-duty maneuvering on the Vendel ship right now. You can sort of see the little purple ones. But on the Hornet in a second, you'll see there's like 6 huge thrusters on top that are firing in all these different directions. You don't have to tell which one of those to fire. It's all done by the computer.
Yeah, the fly-by-wire system it was an ingenious invention because it allowed pilots to merely guide their ship towards its destined path rather than control the precision controls manually.
Right, having to control every single aspect of flight is just a little bit ridiculous. The old days when you had wooden airplanes.
Oh yeah.
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 You were flying it. Now
Let's not mention War Thunder because the fly-by-wire system in that.
War Thunder is the only game I know of that tells you don't use a joystick because you can do way better with a mouse.
Yes, exactly.
See, there's the thrusters firing in this thing. Look at the rear engine firing at the same time. All the surface thrusters are firing. The different.
Oh yeah, and it's a bit gimbaled. You can see it pitching back and forth.
Yep. Okay. All right. So let's move on to our next one. Let's see. Okay, how does insurance work? We already answered that one a little bit. Can you use insurance if someone boards your ship and take it from you? Possible exploit. But maybe we should talk a little bit about insurance first because that was a question before. Okay. If you have insurance, you don't get everything back unless you have everything insured, and most people probably won't unless they just have lots of money laying around. You're going to insure your ship, and then you can insure your weapons separately, and you can insure your cargo, but you can't use that infinitely. So go ahead with what you were going to say. I'm sorry. He's asking if somebody boards your ship, can take it from you.
Yeah. Well, everyone here probably knows how LTI works. As in, your ship gets blown up, you get it back the same way that you originally got it, not any of the modifications that you made on it. Now, for instance, the possible exploit that he's referring to in this is if, say, you have LTI, and somebody steals your ship and boards your ship, steals it from you, and you go back to the insurance and say, "Hey, my ship has been stolen." Except your ship wasn't really stolen. Your friend took it, and then he gave it back to you, or sold it and gave you the money. Mm-hmm. That would fall under fraud. And as far as we know, we don't know what systems Chris Roberts will be using for this, but he's been very adamant that he'll be zero tolerance on fraud, and he will probably have some way of policing it.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough though. I mean, if you did work your way up to a Bengal carrier, and then you just gave it to your friend to go sell so that you could claim the insurance on it.
You can't insure a Bengal carrier.
Oh, okay, never mind then. So let's not use that then. And let's use Constellation, which is still a very expensive ship. And I know you can insure the Connie. So you give the Connie to your friend. You go to tell them it's lost. How are they going to prove whether or not that's your friend? There's going to be a lot of chance for exploit there.
I think what they're going to do, they're going to read the serial numbers off the engine, and you're going to have to file them puppies off before you try to sell it.
I think there might be a way for them to, for instance, see which money was used or which credits were used for the sale of the ship that was boarded, mm-hmm. and whether or not those credits then, within a certain amount of leaps, end up back in the bank account of the person who originally owned the ship. Now, again, that's pure random speculation, but it's like tracking where money goes.
Right, it's really difficult. Unless they're going to mark the credits and be able to track it back.
Hey, they can be the own SEC in this case and work and build this system from the ground up so that the entire economical system is built upon it rather than going, oh, well, we got money, how do we track it?
Mm-hmm. All right, what do you think there, Mr. Trendane?
I think that, well, jumping back to insurance just as a base, I would suspect that depending on the type of ship and if you're going to be getting insurance for it, you will probably have to make quite clear exactly what you're going to be doing with said ship, because the greater the risk to the ship, the greater the risk to the insurance company itself and their interests. So if you're going to be doing something in a high piracy area, I'm sure there will be clauses in your things that say, okay, we're only going to restore 50% of the value of your ship if you are going to intentionally operate it in this area.
Mhm.
I don't know how far that would go.
Well, they could follow probably modern insurance
Right.
things, real life stuff.
The precedent is there.
Right, actuation tables and all the other stuff that they use in the insurance company.
And hell, maybe it'll not be an automated system, but it'll be more along the lines of you lose your ship and you actually have to file a claim and go, I lost my ship. This is what happened. And
do it with a cam. You have to have a webcam and be like standing there going, "Excuse me, Mr. Roberts, I lost my ship. Can I have it back, please?"
How old are you, son? 4. So is it really your ship, or did you steal it from your dad?
Yeah. Have some really hard ass woman with like horn rimmed glasses going, "I don't know about that."
With the beaded pearl.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
There's no greater power in the universe, man.
Yeah, evil. All
And
right.
to all these people currently talking about laundering money and stuff like that, you're forgetting a core aspect. You can have more than one account. You can have a buddy log in on that second account, steal the ship, never ever transfer the money back to the original account, and now you still have double the money, just split across 2 accounts.
Yeah.
So you don't. Yeah.
They've got to have a way to catch that kind of stuff.
They
'cause
do. They need to.
It'll get used up.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is this is from Dragar. Do you think the joystick is going to be superior to other input devices? I'll go with this. I'm going to say yes. You're saying no, Core, but I'm going to say yes, mainly because Chris Roberts is a Master Race PC Master Race person who believes that this will never show up on a console. I don't believe that mouse flying that is being used in War Thunder will necessarily make it into Star Citizen.
No.
It's good in some respects because it means anybody with a keyboard and a mouse, which is anybody playing the PC, will have the keyboard and the mouse. So obviously they have the control mechanism. But I want it to be really, really gimped. Like it's like, okay, you can fly around with a mouse and keyboard, but you're gonna need a joystick to really perform well in this game.
There are 2 extremely different varying opinions, and one really minor that nobody really cares about, which is the controller. Nobody really cares about.
Right.
And the 2 varying opinions is that you've got the mouse and keyboard users who who claim to be the PC Master Race, like me, and then you've got the joystick users who also claim to be the PC Master Race, only from 3 decades ago.
Hey, get off my lawn!
So what you've got is 2 conflicting opinions. Like, I realize that in a lot of ways, compared to keyboard and mouse, joystick is actually more limited in a space sim because you can use the mouse in such a way to actually point, to twist around the axis in the same way that a joystick can. And a mouse can do it with a lot more precision and a lot faster. Now, this is what Chris Roberts has already touched base on. A mouse, in that sense, will always be superior, but he's going to make sure that the ship itself will have limitations, and these limitations will apply to the joystick as well as the mouse, but of course a lot heavier to the mouse because you can't just increase the DPI and make the ship turn faster.
Right.
So I believe in that extent, Chris Roberts will try to balance the joystick and the mouse as evenly as possible within reason, I guess.
It's a balance question, yeah.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I do not believe that the joystick will have a far superior advantage over the mouse because, like Chris Roberts says, he has to limit the mouse's capabilities, whereas he doesn't have to limit the joystick's capabilities.
Yeah. All right, Trendane, what do you think? What's your opinion?
I like lamp. I don't have. I mean, the experience I have working with a joystick is limited to Mech Warrior.
Oh God, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
which is back out, by the way. It's just not nearly as good as it used to be in the old days.
Yeah,
even though it looks better. But yes, go ahead.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
It is.
Trying not to fall back into my love affair with the Timberwolves, but which sounds wrong when I say it that way. Anyway, buddy of mine in Florida is like, it's all about a vulture. I'm like, no. Anyway,
Death from above.
It's a different show altogether. We don't have a show for MechWarrior Online. Anyway, move that. Getting off topic.
You were going to say something about joysticks?
Yes. He's had too many beers already.
I'm halfway through one, but it is a German beer, so.
Yeah.
And can we not? This is probably going to piss somebody off, but can we not talk about the master race while I'm drinking a German beer?
Yeah, really.
Just saying. I honestly, I don't know. I don't have enough experience in a space sim with joystick controls to really warrant a guess either way. I mean, I've been flying, in Eve with a mouse just fine, and that doesn't really apply anyway because you basically go double click and your ship turns and goes that direction.
Right. Eve is flying with an Excel spreadsheet. It's not nearly the same game.
Yeah, and since I hate math, I'm screwed on that game too.
Yeah, same here.
You have a calculator, so technically it's multiplayer calculator.
Ooh.
I think it's a great game. I mean, I'm not going to knock Eve. It's a great game, but it's not. No, I saw some people earlier in the chat arguing really vehemently about that this game is just another version of Eve, and it's not. And this is an action game.
Yeah, the main difference would be that in Eve, you're not actually flying your spaceship. You're pointing at where it's supposed to go, like in any other MMORPG. You guide your character to where he's supposed to go. At the end of the day, the character could technically refuse to go there because he's either getting shot or blown up or whatever. So, like a lot of the controls in MMORPGs, you never feel like you're in direct control of what you're doing, whereas in Star Citizen, you're going to be direct control of your ship.
Yep.
And you're going to point it at the enemy, or you're going to run away like Trendane.
No, I'm running away too. I got myself a freelancer. That's a tank, but I'm moving. I'm leaving. Sayonara, sucker.
The point that you just made, Core, brings right back around to what we were talking about what are they going to do at like a convention or a game show or something. Yeah. That's what they need to do. They need to show the difference between Eve and Star Citizen. Put all this shit to rest. Yeah. That's what they need to do.
That's a good point. I mean, there's some people that say you should never do that because then you're talking about the competition, you're giving them more press or whatever. But it would help separate, I think, some of these issues.
You could put a big sticker at the top saying "Random Space MMORPG,"
based on spreadsheets. Nobody would ever know what you're talking about.
Oh god, we're gonna get some Eve hate. I'm telling you.
I've played Eve for a long time.
Yeah, I gave it a shot too. I didn't get too far in it though. It was so slow, and the fact I couldn't. There was like a guy coming to attack me, and I'm like, I'll just fly over and attack. No, I can't. How do I attack him? Oh wait, let me open up this menu, and then we go down here and we find the thing. Oh, I don't have enough skill in that yet. Okay, so how do I run away? And I'm like looking through these things, and I'm getting shot up. It was terrible. Yeah, those Eve guys are mean. Okay, so let's move on. We got lots more questions.
I think we skipped over one as well. I think we skipped over Lumivox.
Oh. There's going to be... Okay. He wants to know... Lumivox is asking, there's going to be any huge futuristic ships traveling from and to paradise planets like cruise ships? And if so, can players explore that futuristic, huge economical potential? Oh, like Fifth Element. With... Where'd they go to that planet? Floston. You're on it, Trendane. I knew if I asked that question, you would have that answer.
Oh, yes.
Yes. They go Floston Paradise. I don't know. They have not said any words yet about any kind of recreational activities, but I would love...
Well, there's a huge debate currently going on the forums about recreational activities.
As in what regard?
Whether or not we should have sex and how graphic it should be.
That's a good point. Space sex.
They should just take a page out of Road to Hell or Redemption. What was it?
Red Dead Redemption?
No.
Road to Perdition?
No.
It's another road movie.
It's a game that you would swear it came out like 30 years ago.
Highway to Hell.
It looks maybe. It's hideous. There are several sex scenes where everybody's wearing all their clothes, and I mean all of them. And they're clearly doing it, but they are clearly wearing all of their clothes.
The animators could not be bothered to make a nude skin of these characters.
It is horrible. It is horrible. Sorry, just go. Oh man, I'm gonna just sit here and gag for a while.
I mean, for the for the social aspect, it could give the role players something more. But to be honest, if it was a feature, it'd literally be just me clicking, do it,
Do it all the time. Yeah.
do it, do it. Do it. Oh, we're going on a mission. Wait,
they could do it a little bit like
it.
like they did in Dragon Age, where it could be more something you work your way up into and sort of like have to figure out the right ways to get.
We not phrase it that way.
If I come back from a tough mission and I see a red light above the door, I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna wave my UEC around and just walk in.
Find one of the triple-breasted horrors of Eroticon 6.
Exactly.
We really derailed
different
on
flavors of milk from each breast.
I don't know.
Good. I don't either, and I don't.
That was a strange Douglas Adams reference I just threw in there. All right. So, yeah, let's move on. We're derailed pretty far there. Okay, what's the next question? We've got a lot.
The one about moddable ships.
Yeah, moddable. Okay. I'll find it, I swear. Oh, okay.
Okay.
I found it. To what extent will any ship be moddable? Can you take it apart and assemble it into something completely new, or are you stuck with the basic layout referring to its design? This is from Painless73.
All right. From what we've seen so far, especially if you have access to the hangar module, which is a great little thing if you're a backer.
I'm going to show it right now.
It has a little console, a little holographic console interface, to which you can select your ships on the right, and you can browse through the ship parts. Now, the ship parts there are the main thrusters, the weapons, the power plant, and a couple of other things that I can't, for the life of me, think of right now. But as you can see on the stream, there's a couple of things there, including the cargo. These kind of things will can all be interchanged. We've already tried, and there's a screenshot somewhere but I cannot find it right now. There's a screenshot somewhere of someone who took all the weapons on a Hornet, all the thrusters on a 300i, and put them all on an Aurora, and the ship looks ridiculous.
Like a porcupine.
It has two main cannons sticking out of the little feet on the Aurora. It has a It has a missile rack that literally sticks out of the top of the ship, and it has the main thruster of the Hornet, which is literally inside the ship. You cannot enter the ship because it takes up the entire ship, almost.
So how small the Hornet is, too.
We've played around with this a little bit, and to that extent, you will be able to swap out parts. I don't think the parts of the Hornet are interchangeable with the Aurora in the final product, because it'll probably be limited to the actual companies that make the ships, or maybe there's going to be universal parts. We don't know that yet. Mm-hmm. But what we do know is that almost every single part will be able to have its own characteristics. You can increase the power on it. You can increase the for a weapon system, you can probably increase the rate of fire or increase the amount of power that it puts out. You can even overpower your own, overcharge your own power plants. Yep. To make it more powerful. But of course, all these things are going to factor in the weight of the ship, how it's going to react, what parts of the ship are going to suffer because of it. But all of these parts on it will come in a standard variant, and you can mod it and shift around the values to a very high extent. And I think that's going to make a big difference for people who want to use their ship as a mining ship and don't really need the power for their shields, or because they're a mining ship, they want power for their shields. Mm-hmm. Whereas a combat ship that focuses on high damage and long range doesn't really need their shields and uses the power for something else entirely.
So they should be able to, for example, set their forward lasers to 3% to cut a baby space whale out of its dead mother.
Yes. I want to do that. I think that's episode 128, Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah. So yes, you will be able to mod it, and that's the really cool. And now I want to be able to put stickers on my ship. I want to put logos. I want to put paint it black, so I'm in deep space, people can't see me. Maybe tint my windows.
CIG has been very, very, very hush-hush about that.
Mm-hmm.
What we all know is that they're going to be using a skins system. Now, how elaborate or how many skins there will be, we currently don't know. We've seen a couple of modders take the initiative themselves and completely overhaul the way that the constellation looks, and it looks amazing. Yeah. Looks amazing. However, whether or not we'll actually have a feature in the game itself as to put on decals or take off decals or just a giant space penis on the side.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of what my freelancer looks like, to be quite honest with you.
We don't know if they'll really allow that sort of stuff, or how much of that stuff they'll actually allow, and whether or not we're allowed to literally paint our own ships. But probably in due time, it will be so.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. All right, let's move on. That was a long one. We spent a lot of time on that one. It's good. Okay. Question. In War Thunder, which realism arenas do I fly in? Is the mouse the best even in full real? Okay. You cannot fly the historical and the full realism mode with the mouse. I don't believe. I think you can fly, but it's really crippled, right? Or can't you fly at all?
It almost limits your mouse to being only able to make minute adjustments. All the other adjustments come from the elevator, the
rudders. Yeah, you can, like, when you're playing in the arcade mode, it's amazing. Like, you just point your mouse where you want your plane to go, and it just goes there. Like, you want to go up and to the right, you just move your mouse up to the right, and it'll catch up to that spot eventually later on, which makes it amazing because you just like line it up with a target. Okay, I'm gonna hit this guy. Point your mouse at him, just wait for the plane to catch up, and just hold the mouse button down and shoot at him. It's like super easy, and you're dead on accurate every time. So yeah, that's a good War Thunder question. Okay, question: what is Trendane's beer of choice tonight? Let us see it, Mr. Trendane. I'll zoom in.
Okay, tonight's is a Schneiderweisse Wiesen Edelweiss. I think I can get it in there close enough for you to see.
Edelweiss.
Yeah, I figured somebody would wind up singing the song.
Yeah. So what's it like? Is it a fruity, dry? What is it?
It's kind of a Hefeweizen sort of thing, so it's kind of a wheat beer sort of flavor. There's a bit of that citric tang to it. It's actually, it's a little bit more intense than like a Blue Moon or a Shock Top kind of Hefeweizen, but it's actually very nice. It was my choice between either this or the Russian Imperial Stout, which that would be very good. However, my housemate put it in the refrigerator, and beer is that dark you drink at room temperature. I'm sorry, so I'll just save that for next time I'm on the show.
Okay, very good, very good. Which will be Thursday. We should be doing all this again on Thursday. Remind everybody, on 1010, they're going to be doing the live broadcast from Chris Roberts and all those guys over there. And right after following the show, we're going to come on and talk about what they said and make fun of them. No. We're just going to come in with our opinions and see if any of the things that we talked about was, we foretold it.
Tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends.
All of them. Twice. And then do that Wella Balsam commercial thing from the 80s that most of you are too young to remember, where they tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, we're aging ourselves really, really badly.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I guess this is our last question. Do you feel the 100 ship instances will hurt gameplay exploits from Dark Hunt? What do you guys think?
I don't think they will. The problem with the current explanation of the system is, like, we all understand that they're going to be splitting up the sections of the battle to make sure that to decrease the load on the server.
Yeah, you got 1,000 ships in there all doing those kind of maneuvers. It's going to blow stuff up. Your server, I mean.
Yeah. Now, we don't know, however, how they're going to divide these ships over all these sections. Is it going to be position-based? Or is it going to just literally be, there's a massive army here, there's a massive army here, let's throw it into one booyah base and hope that the ships get randomized evenly? That sort of stuff we don't exactly have the details on. I do not believe that having more than 100 ships in one instance is really something that in a combat sim really something that you'd want, because 1,000 ships flying around, a stray bullet shot from 100 kilometers away might eventually catch up to you, and you'd be dead from a combat scenario all the way across the galaxy almost.
Yeah, remember, they're in space, it's a vacuum, and no one can hear you scream, first off. But secondly, when you shoot a bullet, in theory, it will go on forever at that velocity.
Until acted on by another force.
Of equal or greater value. So says the Mr. Newton.
I mean, it might zip around the sun and come back and hit you.
Do a
which
slingshot
would be
maneuver.
awesome. In fact, it might hit you before you shot it.
I think
it goes
with
back in time.
Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
Star Trek 4, The Search for Whales. Star Trek 5, The Search for God. Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Search for a plastic
No,
surgeon.
it's fine. It's fine. I think that with 50 ships per instance, again, they haven't said anything about the size of the ships. I mean, they could be talking about 50 Idrises on both sides here. I think with 50 targets on the enemy team, you'll have plenty to shoot at. And let's not forget, you die, you're out of the fight. Regardless of how many ships are in the fight, or how many combat instances are currently going on around you, you die, you are out. So remember that 1,000 ships really isn't that preferable in this kind of combat.
Okay, this brings up a question for me, and I think Domo, I think I've watched you play some of the older
Wing
games.
Commanders? Yeah, I was playing Wing Commander a couple weeks ago.
The one where you were dealing with the Kilrathi and whatnot.
Yep.
And I think I remember seeing that there were several points where you were dogfighting and like lasers or whatever that missed one of the Kilrathi would hit your own ship.
Yes,
now,
I killed one of my own guys once. Yeah.
Right. Now, is this still going to be the same sort of thing? I mean,
I
when
hope
you're
so.
in this...
Yes.
Yeah. So,
friendly fire.
Sorry.
Friendly fire has definitely been confirmed. So yes, you can take out your own ships, and it's been specifically pointed out that let's say your enemy is flying. You know, you're chasing an enemy, and he happens to be flying straight for your Idris or your somewhat larger ship. Now, there's no way for you to shoot at the enemy, and if you miss, you'll hit your own ship. So do you shoot at him, or do you pick a different target?
See, for me, I would say it depends on which weapon I'm using, because a laser is not going to turn around and come back like a missile might.
Right, yeah.
And then once you get within a certain range, almost like the safeties on submarine torpedoes and whatnot, it'll just, it'll either veer off or whatever, so that it doesn't risk damaging the larger ship or whatever. Then you wind up with people who are doing the Return of the Jedi thing, where they're cruising on the skin of the Star Destroyers just so that they can try to get some, we'll last longer than we will against that Death Star. And it's a tarp and whatever.
That actually brings me to another interesting thing. We mentioned War Thunder already, and a large issue in War Thunder is that planes often seem to be crashing into each other because either people are too lazy to move, or they seem to just want to kill you with their planes rather than shooting you.
I have like a whole hangar, and I usually if I'm gonna go start off the mission, I always start out with my lowest plane first and crash it into somebody, and then I come back with my good plane later on. When it's you've sort of called the herd a little bit and everyone's spaced out. Because if you go in right off the bat with your best ship, your best plane, it's going to get taken out like that, and then you're screwed. So sorry, go ahead. What you were going to say?
Well, my issue becomes is in Star Citizen. You don't have an entire hangar of new planes to choose from.
Yeah.
But
you might, but you can't get there immediately.
So you probably won't have as many ship-to-ship collisions in the sense that you're going out of your way to do it. However, what if you crash it into the bridge of an Idris?
That's a good point. You take your little Aurora, fly it right into the bridge, and you've lost a 10,000 credit ship or whatever, and he just lost this major expensive ship. I don't know the prices on these things, but it's a good point. What do you think there, Trendane?
I think that if they're going to build a ship that big, there had better be backup control centers. So that if you do lose the bridge,
when I was in the Navy,
you don't lose the ship.
Yeah, I used to drive. It was funny. I drove my ship in the Navy when I was in what was called aft steering. I was in the lowest, farthest back point of the ship, and I literally had the rudder behind me, a big steel circular thing. I mean, it was massive. It was being pushed by 2 pistons, massive pistons, and I literally would sit there with this little wheel and drive the ship. Like they'd call down and say, "Okay, move to 110," and I'd move to. I was driving the ship where I couldn't see nothing at all. But yes, I think they could do something like that. Have some sort of backup area.
But it would still take everyone out in the bridge.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
But don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. Keep a few, eggs for the scrambling, somewhere on the dorsal side.
And again, how much is that damage going to affect the actual ship operations? I mean, yes, having backup bridges is nice, but if it does actually, if one tiny ship like that penetrating the shields of an Idris can act as a extremely large projectile, it should do a hell of a lot more damage than a couple of missiles ever could.
And there's a whole other thing, whereas if in the real world, if a plane flew into our bridge, it would blow up the bridge, but all the air in the ship did suck out of the ship. You got that problem too. Or now the whole ship is a vacuum, and you're gonna die anyway.
That's why we have hatches and
bulkheads and stuff.
Yeah.
Now we got a couple more questions. We got some new ones coming in. We'll probably go for another 10 minutes or so because we're actually a little over our time. But let's see. Will friendly fire be 1-to-1 damage, or will it be reduced? That's from Dark Hunt.
I don't have that information right now. I believe if I trust Chris Roberts to do what he wants to do, it'll be 1-on-1.
Yeah.
That's what I would presume.
Yeah. There's no saying that just because you hit a friend that it has to be reduced damage. It's just going to be straight up.
And besides, your friend might not be a real friend, right, guys? Right?
Yeah. In combat, will you be able to hit specific areas to damage engine, weapon sensors, or just a big pool of stuff? I think I saw this on the Wingman's Hangar. We talked about this.
There will definitely be specific areas of damage. That's why I pointed out the crashing of the Aurora into the bridge. Because different parts of the ship will have different levels of armor, and shields are pretty global, as in some ships will have multiple shield generators, some will just have one that projects around the entire ship. They, of course, are varying strengths, but when we're talking about literally the ship, you got to imagine the ship being made of paper, because this is what they've commented on a lot of times. Once the shield is gone, the actual armor of the ship is not going to last for very long. And when it comes to like bigger ships, you're going to see a very, very big articulation on the actual parts of the ship. As in, if you want to take out a turret because the turret's bothering you, you take out the turret. If you want to take out the engines, the thrusters, you can do all of these things. And with the smaller ships, it's going to be a lot harder to do, but it will be possible to take out individual parts.
I think so too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just was doing that in Wingman the other day. I was fighting a big Kilrathi ship, and I just sat there pegging his engine the whole time, and he couldn't hit me because I was just at the right spot where I was between the two turrets. So he was shooting at me, but I was close enough where I was just pegging that engine, and it took me forever, but I took it out. So I think that could be done in this game too. What do you think, Trendane?
I think that was when you kept getting hit with engine wash, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. There was like this engine wash thing. Well, you're really on the ball, Trendane. You're watching all my stuff. I feel like
I like balls. I can't wait. I've forgotten what the hell we were talking about.
Yeah, I lost it too. Oh well.
That's okay. So we got what? One more question?
No, I think that was it.
No, we have one more question.
One more. Okay, last question. This is the last question. In combat, will you be able to hit? No,
we just had that one.
Yeah,
that was the one we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Maybe that's why I didn't. Whatever. Shut up. Leave me alone.
Okay.
Do you still want to answer the question, Trendane?
No.
Okay.
Prime UK just says there's a missed question. Can you speculate how the AI crew will work? Will they work like mercs in EverQuest?
Does anyone here know how the mercs in EverQuest work?
I don't remember. Sorry.
Never played it.
I played it, but it's a long time ago.
As far as what I know about the AI crew, we don't know in what kind of severity they'll have varying personalities. We do know that they can look different. We don't know how skill level is going to influence their ability because we haven't heard anything about skill levels. But how NPCs are gonna work is you select them to be part of your crew, or you hire them to be part of your crew, depending on whether you have character slots or you want to get them from in-game. And they will join your active roster, and they will stay logged in with you for as long as you're doing the mission, or maybe it's going to be mission specific where you hire specific crew for specific missions or things like that.
So for those of us doing exploration, that could be a very long time.
Yeah.
Yep. And you might have to pay them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to spend it?
That's a good point. On the triple-breasted horrors of Eroticon 6.
You might have to put up a red light above your bed, you know.
There you go.
No, you just hang the never mind, on the doorknob.
All right, last question here. Dark Hunt. Will accidental damage cause the entire UUE to become hostile? So you're flying along and you shoot somebody, or you're shooting at a pirate, and there's a Bengal carrier sitting behind him, and all of a sudden now you're pegging the Bengal carrier, and it goes, "Hey, stop that!" And you accidentally did it again. They go, "Okay, that's it. We're shooting you now." I don't know. Maybe they'll have a warning system to say, "Okay, you do that again, we're gonna shoot at you."
From what I've heard and what a lot of people have speculated, the UAE is not going to be an instant banhammer of death machine.
Right.
So it's not like when you shoot someone or kill someone or steal someone's ship in UE space, it's not going to be like, they're all here, they're all around us, and you
like
instantly
the cops
die.
in real life, you have to wait for them to show up, and if you're far away.
And if you're a citizen, they show up quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be more along the lines of that. And I think that when you just shoot someone by accident, which, might happen, I think, the UE will show up and not instantly start attacking you, but maybe send you like a comm relay or, ask both parties what's going on. We don't really know how that system's going to work, but there will be tapered responses to appropriate situations.
All right. What do you think, Trendane?
I'm inclined to agree. I don't think it'll be like a, hey, dude, come on, watch your fire. You're kind of blowing our shields. We're getting enough of this crap from everybody else. We don't need it from you, too. And the next time you do it, they're like, okie dokie, fine. You guys hang on. And every gun trains on you. It's like, have we made our point clear? Yes, okay, I got it. No problem.
And that's enough.
Yeah. I can see it. If you do it, if you wind up blowing a ship up, like if yours is the killing shot on a Bengal, which would kind of be cool, a little bit, especially in my freelancer. I was trying to mine the asteroid behind you. I thought I could. It would have an impact on your insurance. It would have an impact on whatever your standing is. Because, if you're going to start shooting friendly targets, you can bet that the insurance company is going to be like, how about no?
Yeah.
If you want us to cover you.
Definitely a clause in the policy somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's a good time to stop. Before we go, real quick, Mr. Core, tell us about your Twitch channel and your Twitter.
All right, so I have my own Twitch channel on twitch.tv /Core of Existence. I'll type it into chat real quick. And this is where I stream about 6 hours each day. Unfortunately, currently, I haven't been able to do that for the last couple of days or so. However, I will continue to try and strive to keep my 6-hour goal. I'll be streaming any type of new game. I'm a variety streamer myself, and of course, as soon as we have more of Star Citizen, that is exactly what I'll be showing and what I'll be bringing.
What are you playing now?
Right now, we're playing Battlefield 4 and GTA 5 online.
Awesome. All right, Trendane, tell us a little bit about your channel.
Mostly it's just on YouTube, and for right now it's almost exclusively daily vlogs of me going, oh God, here's what happened to me today. I was like down at the mall and I was trying to do my laundry. And no, if you look back in the dim times, before I really knew what I was doing, which is like 3 months ago, I have like some World of Warcraft audiobooks. Basically, there's an achievement in World of Warcraft called Well Read, and there's all these books in game that your character can pick up and read.
Yep.
And how many of the books did you actually read, or did you just crack them open and put them down?
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing them as audiobooks.
Okay.
Now I did them on a really shitty Logitech headset now that I've got working equipment that actually sounds decent, I'm going to go back and remaster those. I'm going to read all of the in-game books from World of Warcraft. I'm going to read all the ones from Skyrim, and once Elder Scrolls Online comes out, if there are any from Star Citizen that they're like data logs or whatever, I'd love to do those too. I think it would be really, really fun. But that's basically what I do.
So remember, everybody, Trendane is a professional voice actor. So he is currently looking for work. If you guys have any projects or anything like that, that he might want to jump in and do with, just throw him an email. So
Trendane@gmail.com. Real easy to find.
There you go. All right, everybody. I guess that's it for tonight. Thanks a lot for coming and joining us. It was a really great show. You guys are awesome, and I think it was really informative. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, over here is the bar. You can skip or go ahead. All that stuff. Yeah, Trendane's got it right this time.
Pointing the correct direction.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mr. Core and Mr. Trendane.
It was a pleasure to be here, and to everyone currently watching, thank you guys all very much for being here.
Yeah, it's really great. And we will see you Thursday night after the live show from Star Citizen. All right?
Sure.
Be careless.
See ya.